County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
My granddaughter, I think she's been shot.
Who shot her?
There's an accident.
How many times was she shot?
Just once.
Okay.
Just once.
So I met him at, I think I would have been around almost 23. So at the time, he was actually 9 or 10 years older than me. And so that was cool because I'm like, this person is not going to be like people my age that don't have their stuff together. He didn't seem at first to have a lot of baggage. And I was really happy about that. I felt very special because here this person that's a little bit older than me, but not too much older than me, is happy around me and acting like I'm the world, and just was not what I thought it was. As I got to know him more and more and felt like I loved him, and he messaged me and told me he loved me and stuff like that, you know, that giddy feeling you get. It was all great. And then as time went on, I started learning more and more and more. That's when the baggage started coming out. He told me his ex that he was with for a very long time, that he had a child with because he only had one child. He was done with her. He didn't want nothing to do with her. And that ended up being a lie. And so he's kind of playing me, playing her. But really in the end, I was played completely. He would have me drop him off over there to go see the kid, and I know how important children are. I would fall for it, and he would go inside and just say, you know, I'm gonna hang out with this kid, and I'd come pick him up, and, you know, however many hours, or he'd take her car and drive back over to my grandma's place where he'd go back and forth between her house and my house. At first, he really made it seem like he was just going over there to see his kid, and then my grandma offered for the kid to come over to her house because she had a huge yard and perfect for a kid to play around. The kid would come sometimes, but when the kid was there, his ex would stay there. They would pay attention to each other, and the kid's just being forgotten about. My grandma started pointing out, like, that's a little odd. And then, like, the next sign was that he would fall asleep, and I couldn't get a hold of him when he had told me to come pick him up, and then I'd wait there. Sometimes I'd fall asleep in the car myself, and that's why I feel really dumb about this whole thing too. And I'd wake up and the sun had rose, and I'm like, oh my God, I fell asleep out here. He ain't here. Sometimes this girl would start texting me, just talking crap, saying, I dude, your man, I got you, and just it's crazy stuff. And I said, I ain't got time for your crap. I know what it is. I got this. We're real. We're being legit. Like, we both love each other. But she would always, you know, try to antagonize me, and I just wouldn't fall for it. Sometimes the threats were just through text messages from her, and she'd harass me through text messages, and I still have a lot of those texts, and I'm like, this is not it. But he'd put on a show, like, whenever he'd have me pick him up, and he would actually come out when he said he was going to, so he'd go back to my grandma's. She'd come outside, and they'd be yelling at each other and stuff like that. And so I'm like, there's a little more to this than this kid, because where's the kid at? I mean, the kid's not anywhere inside. But y'all are acting like a married couple. He still had an obsession with her, I feel like, but he would say, oh, screw her, I don't like her. He was over at grandma's a lot more than over there. I noticed whenever he would want to go over there, you know, this started about, I'd say, a year in, and we'd be hollering and fighting, like, and he'd come after me. I would run to grandma and hide. He'd still come after me. I would get so upset on the inside because it's finally making sense in my head that he does still love or like, or I guess obviously care for her in some way, and it was getting at me and getting at me. So I'd tell him, you know, I'm done. This is driving me insane, and because it was. I can't take this back and forth stuff, because I was upfront with him in the beginning of our relationship that I had a similar situation like this with a boyfriend, like, right before him. I asked him to please not let this be that kind of situation, and he swore to me it wouldn't be. And it would just get at me, and I'd be like, you know, quit doing this to me. I already gone through this before, I'm not doing it again. And we'd just argue, and I think he would start these arguments and make them worse than they had to be, instead of let us get what's on our mind off our minds and then talk about it. Instead, he would purposefully make it a reason where he had to leave so he could take off over there, calm each one of us down. Anytime that he would cause a fight to head over there, I knew he was heading over there, and that's what made it even worse. This whole time, she's texting me crazy stuff like, I did your man. I tried to not let it bother me because she was older than me. I wasn't worried about her, but it was still upsetting emotionally, and to not just me or him, but everybody around us, because it was like every other day, the fighting. But as time went on leading up to the incident, I was really over it. It would still hurt emotionally, and I would still be like, I don't want you to leave, but I'm not getting played for a fool. I was pretty much put out. It would be a relief whenever he wasn't there. And before, I'd stay awake sad, but mid to the end of that year. It was such a relief when he was gone. I was like, yes. I was just getting tired of the BS, I guess you could say. And the crazy ex-girlfriend would literally, I'd wake up and she's sitting on the end of my bed like she climbed through the window. I'm sorry, that's wrong. You don't do that. Like, just because he's in here does not give you the right to do that. And the couple times I woke up, I yelled at her. I told her, do not come back in here. My grandma, she will call the cops. This is her house. You were not invited in. Do not come back here. This crazy girl would bang on windows, come through windows if they were left unlocked. I ended up having screws in the, window because I didn't want her coming in, but then she'd slip in a door, basically break in. That's when I knew he still was playing me for a fool, saying, oh, I love you, I only love you. Before he met me, he had caught some charges for various things, and he was going to court for everything. A couple months after he got with me, they indicted him on all these prior charges. I know that was getting to him too. He also had told somebody like he went and purchased off the streets, basically he purchased a 12-gauge shotgun, and he had talked about shooting like one of his friends. They had been shot and lost their arm. My grandma, when she saw that the gun was in the house, she didn't want it in there. He usually tried to hide it under the bed so grandma would think it was gone. He had threatened me a couple times holding the to my head, just craziness, but I just looked past it because I'm like, he's just having a bad day. And then eventually we were getting along all right, and then it was around 1 or 2 in the morning, and I come back there, tried to open the door to our bedroom, and it wouldn't open. It was locked. And I'm like, started banging on the door like, let me in, dude. Like, what the heck? Took him about, I'd say, a minute or so, and he finally unlocked the door. The door opened, and he's standing there crouched down with the pointed at me, and I didn't really have time to think or react, but I turned this way, and by the time I did that, my ears are ringing. I've been shot. I'm losing blood, and I felt like I needed water, like very dehydrated. I basically fell backwards towards the bathroom entryway right in front of Grandma's house. When she heard that shotgun go off, she got on the phone with 911. She was so in shock because her granddaughter's arm is hanging off, and then I've got my right breast is gone. And so a little bit into the call, they asked her to, can you take the phone to, the guy? So she walked as best she could. She had to step over me and handed him the phone, and they asked, what happened? And he said, it was an accident. It was an accident. By that time, the police department had got there, and I thank God for this police officer. He wrapped my arm, and then the other officer wrapped right here, put a, compression on there because I was bleeding out really bad, of course. Then they got me loaded up in the ambulance, and I don't remember anything after that because I think they gave me something to knock me out, and then they ended up placing him under arrest for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I woke up about 3 days later in the hospital, and I had a tube down my throat. I didn't realize my arm was gone. I don't realize that till about a week in the hospital stay. The day after I came to, woke up, cops ended up coming in there, and first thing I said is he in jail or is he already out? And they said, well, unless he's got a house he can put up, I don't think he will be getting out. And I said, well, his baby mama, she'll come up with the money, she'll get him out. And they said, I don't think so. And I'm like, they will, watch. Next thing I know, I'm getting a call from the local jail, and it was him calling. I hung up, of course. It took like a week and a half before everything started coming back, and it still hasn't fully come back in, like everything that's that went on then, but most of it has. What's crazy is he told the cops that night that there was a box in the room he tripped over and it went off, but what's crazy is there was no box there to trip over. Another thing that they told me when they were coming to interview and ask if I remembered anything or anything like that is when they got there, the gun, I guess he had reloaded it. It was like a hot shot, I think it's called. I don't know what he planned to do with that, if it was to shoot me again. It took a lot of figuring things out to be able to do things that I used to be able to do by myself so easily because I was very independent. There's a lot of things that I'm either way too scared to do because of the limitations, or I just can't do by myself, and I hate having to ask for help. That's one thing I've had to learn to do, is ask for help. It sucks. If I have my handicap placard, they're like, what is wrong with her? Because they'll see my face and they'll be like, she's not even old enough to be handicapped. I will not drive. I'm scared to. I can't do my own hair. Cooking, it's very hard because you gotta think. You can't hold a pan, you can't slicing things. Cleaning's hard for me to do too. I have severe PTSD and severe anxiety. I see a counselor every 2 weeks. I do not like to go out in public, and I used to love being a social butterfly. Now, it ain't like that. A kid looks at me and cries, and I feel bad because, this is scary to them. All that bothers me so much, and to think that I was so confident before all this to take modeling pictures, and I was so excited to see my modeling pictures. Now, I'm the one that's getting looked at like she's ugly or she's out of this world. With all the counseling in the world, it still messes with me because I also don't know why. I never talked to him since that night. Why did you have to shoot me? If you're always so mad at your ex, well, I mean, you shouldn't shoot anybody. Why am I the one with damaged body, but yeah, you love me? I mean, it's just so many unanswered things that go through my head every day that I shouldn't even let bother me, but how can I not? At least now I'm more cautious with anybody I let in my life, that's for sure. One time I felt like the justice system was going to let me down hardcore because they were taking so long to indict him. He was sitting in jail the whole time. He didn't end up bonding out like I thought. His baby mama, she didn't come up with the house, I guess, to get him out. Plus, he had those pending charges he had before he met me that he was still going to court for. In the end, he ended up pleading guilty. The only people I had on my side were the professionals. Like, I wrote a victim impact statement, how it impacted Grandma and me, everyone around us. I feel like if I would have gone and watched him be sentenced, it would feel more real and I would feel more at ease, but I was stressed. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to hear about it. It was too much, so I didn't go to his sentencing. And I feel like if I would have, that was a mistake I made, then I would have felt more at peace somewhat. He got 40 years. It all worked out, but I wish I would have seen him get sentenced. If something becomes too much, or you notice things seem so perfect at first and then they just start balling up and it's not in a good way, it's like, becoming more and more. Try your best to get out of the situation. If you can't do it yourself, it's always good to have somebody. I have to say that if I didn't have my grandma, I wouldn't have made it through any of this at all. Starting from that young age all the way till now, it's kind of been on my mind a lot lately since she's been gone this whole year. It's like, all right, because nobody can replace her, that's for sure. And she saw this whole thing right in front of her. I mean, this happened literally right in front of her. She's seen her granddaughter's, flesh everywhere, her arm off. And I have to remember anytime I'm having a rough day, if she can keep on, I gotta keep on too,